Doctor Doom, Thanos, Galactus. What do these three villains have in common? They've all been defeated by the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Today we're going to try something new on this channel. We're going to look at an entire issue of Squirrel Girl. If you like what you're seeing and you want to see more of this content, please hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments. Now, right away we can tell this is going to be a really fun book. On the cover of the first issue, it says, "Only our second #1 so far this year." With that kind of self-reference, you know it's going to be a fun read. One of the best parts about this book is that the writer's commentary is at the bottom of every page, and almost every single line is legit hilarious. So we jump into the first page of the book, and right away we're met with hilarious character descriptions. We get introduced to Squirrel Girl's secret identity, Doreen Green. She's really good at talking to squirrels, debugging compile time errors, and punching criminals until they stop doing crimes. And then we get a peek into her friend group, which consists of Nancy Whitehead, Chipmunk Hunk, and Coy Boy. On top of those, we get the description of Tippy Toe, her squirrel companion. Secret identity, I'm a squirrel. Education, I'm a squirrel. The first thing people notice about me, I'm a squirrel. The most private thing I'm willing to admit, I'm a squirrel. A great description of her squirrel companion. So the action begins with Squirrel Girl and her companion saving people from a burning building. She gives us her own description of herself. Partially squirrel blood, talks to rodents, powers of a squirrel, and powers of a girl. She begins rescuing people from a building fire, and at one point someone asks, "How do squirrels fight fire?" And her response is hilarious. She says, not super effective actually. They kind of carried a little water in their mouths, but that only bought us like a few seconds tops. The people don't seem super confident in that, but Squirrel Girl's not worried. She tells them to grab onto her tail and she jumps out the window. After a job well done, the whole gang goes back to Doreen's brand new apartment and helps her move in. But oh, this peace will not last long. Oh no, my friends. So of course they all marvel at how Doreen is an actual Avengers teleporter box in her apartment, which is awesome, by the way. Doreen quickly corrects the assertion that she's an Avenger, however. She says she's a new Avenger. We're, newer. We avenge all the new stuff. So then she starts talking about the fantastic food court that's on the Avengers headquarters because why not, right? If there's a great food court, you gotta talk about it, and the Avengers probably have the coolest food court. When she suddenly remembers that she has a lunch with her parents! Forgetting a meeting with your parents is never a good thing. So she convinces her roommate Nancy to go with her, and together they rush out of the door. But when they leave, the teleporter kicks on and a metal arm comes popping out. They arrive at the restaurant, and Squirrel Girl has to change out of her superhero costume into a normal costume and tells Nancy to go on in without her. Nancy, of course, says, "How will I know who your parents are?" "Oh, don't worry, Nancy. You'll know." The second Nancy walks in, she's greeted by an old lady saying, "You must be Nancy! Oh my gosh, I love your red hair!" Is that you, Miss Green? Doreen didn't actually tell me your name." "Oh, it's Maureen. And it's very nice to meet you, Nancy, especially after hearing so much about you. Dora and I just love cats. Didn't you know that? Of course, we could never have one when Doreen was growing up, what with all the squirrels running around, but we just loved them." Of course, Nancy's a little overwhelmed by all of this, as anyone normally would be. But then Maureen goes on to tell her about all of the awesome, embarrassing Doreen stories. And suddenly Nancy is all in. And this brings us to my favorite part of the whole comic, because Nancy obviously wonders, is Doreen a mutant? And she remarks it must be because of her mutant powers. Maureen, of course, corrects her and explicitly says, Doreen is medically and legally distinct from being a mutant. That is just such a fantastic line to put in there because there's all this discussion and drama about whether or not certain mutants and characters can appear in Marvel films, and I felt like this was a great way for Marvel to cover their tracks to say, no, she's not a mutant, she doesn't go in the X-Men films, Fox doesn't get those rights, we've got the rights to a Squirrel Girl movie, which I would be wholeheartedly on board with. The editor's note at the bottom says, also, the doc couldn't say for sure whether it was the squirrel bite, or the cosmic rays in the forest, or the experimental nut serum, or the radioactive tree, or exactly what caused these changes in Maureen's pregnancy, but one of those things is probably what gave her Squirrel Girl powers. Doreen has totally had enough at this point, so they decide to go back to Doreen's house. Maureen, Nancy, and Doreen all head on back Squirrel Girl style. They arrive on the rooftops of their apartment when they are met with smashing things. And out comes a brain with eyeballs inside of a jar placed on top of a robot body. These animals are vile and base and will be the first to be consumed, he shouts. Tippy! Nobody threatens to eat my friends! I don't know who you are, who you want to show off your brain to and with those eyes so much, but this ends right now, mister. The futility of trying to break unbreakable glass only serves to highlight the essential madness that surrounds us. Such vulgarity has no place here, the robot shouts. Doreen tosses Nancy a big deck of cards that have all of the supervillains and their weaknesses on them. So Nancy flips through and she finds Deadpool's Guide to Supervillains, Brain Drain. So then Doreen thinks, I know, it's a robot, I'll distract him with computer science. And so she starts shouting all this stuff about C++ templates and A-turning and complete and programming languages and all kinds of just random things about computer science. And the robot is just completely and totally unfazed. Dang it, computer science! But don't worry, Tippy can save the day. So Tippy jumps on his face and starts gnawing through all of the wires in his back. And Tippy says, "Jerk, jerk, 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 jerk," which we get a translation of, you think I won't chew through these wires? I've chewed through steel wire on MODOK, yo! And that was just for funsies! I love Tippy. Tippy, you're the best. So they bring the robot body back down to their apartment, and they start talking about what happened, and the mom brings up, sweetie, he never actually attacked you. And they're like, wait, but he had Mew and Tippy, and he grabbed you too. And they're like, yeah, but that was after Doreen jumped on him and started beating him. And what they discover is that Doreen kind of jumped the gun on this one because he wasn't bad at all. He wasn't going to eat anybody. He doesn't even have a mouth. Nancy and Doreen both exclaim, oh my gosh, we kind of started this fight. We absolutely started this fight. Then Tippy says, it was kind of weird, you know? He came through the teleporter after you left and he was just standing there until I got too close. And then bam, he just grabs me and he grabbed the cat and just started saying chaos, murder, and running around. And that's when he made it to the rooftops. So it actually turned out that that whole fight was just a misunderstanding. So Squirrel Girl decides, all right, I'm gonna reboot this robot and fix him. What they discover is that he was made by aliens in the 40s and he was made with Nazi technology, and so that's why he was all crazy. But he was actually just broken. All the cables had rotted and all rusted up, and so he was just repeating the same lines over and over again. So they reboot him with a phone or an iPad. There's a great fixing montage in there, because computer science, yay! So they fix him up and the robot says, thank you so much. It's so terrible. Can you imagine being stuck as the person you were 5 to 10 years ago? Of course, Squirrel Girl remembers the person she was 5 to 10 years ago and is like, yes, that would be great. And Nancy remembers the person she was 5 to 10 years ago and like, no, that would be terrible. So what's the most sensible thing to do now that he's been fixed and he has his whole life ahead of him? Enroll him in college with them. So he decides to go be a computer science major like Squirrel Girl. And the issue ends with Maureen actually paying for his way for his first class. And everyone's kind of like, we love you, Maureen. And the robot exclaims, I'm also looking forward to achieving consistency across distributed database systems. Squirrel Girl says, oh man, don't get your hopes up on that. Turns out they don't even start that till the 3rd year. Total ripoff. So the issue ends with them on Avengers Island, actually at the food court they talked about originally, and they're all just kind of talking about how great it was to wrap everything up and that it's going to be a really great year. And then Squirrel Girl gives us what is undoubtedly the second best battle cry of all time. Let's eat nuts and kick butts! Oh yeah, it's going to be a great series. And a big time congratulations to David Codd for winning the Absolute New Frontier. Congratulations, David. Be sure to subscribe and comment to be automatically entered into our weekly giveaways where we give away comics, toys, and collectibles. We'll see you next time on Super Squad D, where the D stands for Dory!